Okay, hi guys, this is Emily, and today I want to show to you how to launch a study on Prolific Academic. So Prolific Academic is a website on which you can receive survey responses from thousands of participants in the world, but also mainly the US. And this is a competitor of Amazon Mechanical Turk, and has recently become more and more popular in the academic community because again, it's targeted mainly towards academics, but also the data quality is better, and you can also filter quite a lot based on your requirements of a study. So I've logged on to my account, or my advisor's account actually, and I've already started creating a new study. So in order to start your study, you want to hit New Study on the left, and then you start creating your study. It would pop up like this, and I've already filled out the responses, but you will want to give your survey a title up here, and then you also want to describe the survey to participants in the same way that you would do in MTurk as well. So you might want to give them description on how long the survey will be, who's conducting the survey, and how much it's paying, and what the main purpose of the study is. You can also, on the Advanced tab here, give yourself an internal name so that you can later filter based on the study and remind yourself what the study was. Then you have to fill in a URL, and this is a URL that you get from Qualtrics or whatever the survey creation platform is that you're using. In the case of Qualtrics, I would go to the distributions, and I would get an anonymous link, and I would copy this link here over to this part. The other thing that you have to do with Prolific is you actually receive a URL, and you have to link this to your Qualtrics. So you go back to Qualtrics, and in the survey flow, you go down to wherever the end of the survey is, and what you have to do is you have to hit customize and then redirect to a URL by overriding the survey options, and you then copy the URL that Prolific gives you into this redirect to URL link. And that's the main thing that you have to do. Another thing that you also have to make sure is that you have a question in which you also ask participants for their Prolific ID, because that is how participants will later be paid by the website. So the next thing that you can do is select the audience that you want to target, and you can either use a representative sample, which is usually more expensive because you can have like a representative like American sample, nationally representative, but you can also do custom pre-screening. So in this survey, I actually wanted to filter by the number of siblings, and I wanted to have participants who had exactly one sibling. But there's a lot of other filters here too. There's like basic demographic variables. There are education and relationship type variables. Another thing that you can do is filtering people based on their participation in prior surveys. So in the participation on Prolific, you can go to previous surveys and then filter out those participants who have taken like a similar survey in the past. That's relevant if you have a project and you don't want participants to take your surveys more than once. Another thing that you might want to do is filter based on the location of participants. Often we are restricted to American participants, and so we want to restrict participants based on that. I think there's like a location somewhere there. You just have to click around and make sure. You can also target which device people should be using. In some surveys, if you have like a game or some sort of a thing where people have to do something where they should have like a larger screen, you might want to have only desktop participants, but I typically use all three. And then finally, you select how many participants will be taking your survey. I usually start with like a small pre-test sample just to make sure that my survey is working fine, and then I go on and increase my sample size. You also specify your number of minutes, and then Prolific actually gives you like a fair pay suggested amount. I think generally you will want to pay around $7 to $8 an hour, or maybe a little more. Right, and then you can save it as draft or you can publish it immediately. And that's it. Once you're done with your study, it'll land in the completed studies. If it's still running, it'll end up in the active studies, and you have to then confirm your participants in order to pay them. That's it.